Hello everyone. I hope all of you are safe and sound at home. I know these days are a very tough time for all of us. No schools, no colleges, not even offices. All of us are locked up at home with our mobile phones and laptops. But life doesn't end here. We can easily use these gadgets to expand the horizon of our knowledge. We can gain a lot of knowledge during this period. Make the best use of our gadgets. Keeping this in mind, today I have brought a very important topic from English grammar, a topic without which no group of words make any sense, nor any group of words can form a sentence. And the topic is the verbs.
We all have been learning verbs in childhood. Maybe not as verbs, but maybe as action words. Then as we came to higher classes, the action words got the name as verbs. In this video, we are going to study all the different types of verbs, how they are categorized, what are their functions, how do they function, all these things we are going to study in this video. Now as I said, we have different types of verbs. So some of the names are mentioned here, you can see. So how these verbs are formed, how these verbs are used, all this we are going to study. So beginning with definition. What is a verb? A verb is a doing or saying word. What do we understand by this? Doing or saying word. Whenever we carry out any action, we give those actions a name, and the same name given to an action is referred to as verb. So verb is actually an action or an event or a state of being. When we say doing or saying word, all these words come under action. Events we study generally with the tenses, and state of being shows your possession, belongingness, or the existence, the state or the condition of any particular action. The examples include see, come, look, has, be, become, like, seem, etc. So overall, all the types that we are going to study can be divided into two main groups, that is your main verb and auxiliary verbs. Main verbs are those verbs which stand independently, can exist alone, whereas auxiliary verbs are those verbs which help these main verbs to form different tenses, modes, and even voice. So let's study one by one each type, what is a main verb and what is an auxiliary verb. Beginning with auxiliary verbs. What are auxiliary verbs? Auxiliary verbs are used with main verbs to make tenses and passive forms. Auxiliary verbs are also called as helping verbs. Auxiliary verbs are also known as helping verbs. Why? Because they help the main verb. It is said these auxiliary verbs are used with main verbs, means these auxiliary verbs help the main verbs to make tenses and passive forms. That is what is active and passive voice that we study. So auxiliary verbs helps to make tenses and passive forms. Just like the common verb, auxiliary verbs are also of two types. That is your primary auxiliary and modal auxiliary. Overall, there are 24 auxiliary verbs, of which 12 belongs to primary auxiliary and 12 belongs to modal auxiliaries. So what are those 12 primary and modal auxiliaries? Let's study under those headings. Coming to primary auxiliary, what are primary auxiliaries? Primary auxiliaries are used as main verb as well as helping verb. Since it's an auxiliary, so it helps the verb, and not only this, there are certain cases in which no other main verb is there other than the same auxiliary verb. For example, we have is, am, are, was, were, be. These are known as be forms of verb. Primary auxiliaries are again of three types: be form, has form and do form. So be forms are is, am, are, was, were, be. These 6 examples of auxiliaries can stand alone, can be used as it is without the aid of any other verb, and hence these primary auxiliaries act as main verb. Let's have a look at this example. He is mad. Here is your verb, and since there is no other main verb here, is stands alone. So is your main verb. Whereas in the other example, you will see he is helping me. Your verb is helping, where help is your main verb, and I have used in the continuous form using ing. So help is your main verb and is a helping verb with the main verb help. Same thing happens with has. The forms of has are has, have and had. And same way with do, does and did. Now out of these 12 examples of primary auxiliaries, you will see is, am, are of be forms are used for present tense. Was, were is used for past tense, and same way be. Be word as it is like be is used in places where no tense can be mentioned or no tense can be used. In such cases we use be, like let it be. When I say let it be, there be is your be form of verb. Same way we have has and have for present tense, had for past tense, and do and does for present tense, and did for past tense. Why is, am, are, has, have, had, do, does, did all are different? This is based on the number, person and tense, and all this we do in detail in particular chapters wherever they are required. So here is just a simple introduction how the different verbs are categorized under different heading. I hope this is clear. Moving to the next topic, it's modal auxiliary. This auxiliary differs from primary auxiliary in expression of time. Like primary auxiliaries are used in making up tenses. They help in forming of tenses. Whereas modal auxiliaries talks about the moods and attitudes of the speaker. Suppose a question is asked, may I come in, ma'am? When you hear this sentence, you can easily make out that a person is asking a permission. Ma'am, I will do it. I will do it. Here it shows your ability that you can do it. If you say, we must obey our parents. Must shows necessity, compulsion. So it talks about all the modal auxiliaries, talks about moods and attitudes of the speaker. Means the way we speak, the person understands the concept, the sense, the meaning. What kind of mood a person is in. We can easily make out with the sentences, with the expression of sentences, the moods of the speaker, and those moods are expressed by using modal auxiliaries. For example, will, shall, can, may, need, must, used to, etc. There are many more. 12 are there, out of which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are mentioned, and apart from this we have 5 more. So as we will study modal auxiliary topic, under that heading all the modal verbs will be given. Now coming to would, should, could, might, they are nothing but the past form of the same modal, that is will, shall, can, may respectively. Now let's see the moods and attitudes with the help of examples. He will come home. Here, come is your main verb, will is your modal. So, will come. Now, here the word will is helping the main verb come to express the possibility. When I say will come, it expresses your possibility. Then coming to the next example, you need to complete your work on time. Here only the word need is there. So this word need again acts as a main verb here. As there is no verb, you can see there is no verb. So need is again acting as a main verb and showing you the compulsion that you need to complete your work on time, shows the compulsion that you have to complete the work on time. You cannot take extra time. Now let's do the main verb. This is the actual verb where we have to study all the different types of verb under this heading. So again, we will divide the main verb based on function as finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Main verbs can stand independently or it can be used with the auxiliary verb to form tense or voice or moods and attitudes of the speaker. So main verbs categorized as finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Now what are finite verbs? Finite verb is a verb that is limited by number, person or tense. What is a finite verb? A verb that is limited by number, person or tense. When I say number, here I talk about the singular and plural numbers, the singular and plural nouns. When I talk about person, here I talk about the first person, second person and third person that we study under pronoun, under personal pronoun or the tense. So coming to the division of finite verb, as I said, most of the verbs come under finite verbs. So they have different forms, different meanings, different actions. So based on each function, they are categorized as based on conjugation, based on meaning, based on the doer of an action, based on time and based on object. So let's do one by one in detail. Let's start with the formation of verb based on conjugation. Now what is conjugation? Conjugation is the way to derive different forms of verb for tenses, voices, moods, etc. Just now I spoke about the 12 forms of tenses. The tenses have 12 forms and all the 12 forms have different formats. So the verbs used in those formats are derived with the help of conjugation. So how they are derived? In order to create verbs in different forms, we have 4 forms of verb. That is verbs in the simple present tense, what we call it as verb first form. Simple past tense, verb second form. Past participle, that is your verb third form. And finally we have present participle, that is your verb fourth form. You can also write the present participle as verb first form plus ing. So all the verbs that shows or that can have different verb forms are categorized as regular verbs and irregular verbs. So let us study each type of verb one by one. The first one is your irregular verb or strong verb. Irregular verbs are also called as strong verb. Now why are they called as strong verbs? First, it has more stress in a sentence, more importance in a sentence, and secondly, the past and past participle forms of these verbs cannot be predicted. And since these forms cannot be predicted, all the 3 forms are different. We can see here in the examples, rise, rose, risen. All the 3 forms are different and we cannot make out what could be the past and past participle from the present form. So since all the three forms are different, it is also called as irregular verbs. So we have irregular verbs whose all the three forms are different and are also known as strong verbs. So examples we have rise, rose, risen, lie, lay, lain, draw, drew, drawn. Now in this, one more important thing to keep in mind is strong verbs form their past tense by changing the internal vowels, which can be seen in all the three examples: lie, lay, draw, drew. So in all the three examples, the internal vowels have been changed in past tense. Let's continue with the next part, that is your regular verb or weak verbs. Weak verbs, we do not read these verbs with great stress. And these verbs generally end in D, ED or T. Since they end in D, ED or T, their past and past participle forms. Most of the regular verbs have past and past participle form as same forms. And since both the forms are same, they are also called as regular verbs. And in such type of verbs, we have simple past and past participle forms consistent. That is what I said, they both remain same. Most of the verbs are regular verbs. Majority of the verbs are regular verbs. So let's see the example. We have walk, walked, walked. Teach, teach becomes taught in past tense and again taught in past participle form. I have die, died and died. Now in the last example you can see the verb in present form is die, and when I form the past tense I have added only D. Whereas in the second example teach, the word ends in T, and in the first example walked, there the verb ends in ED. So as discussed earlier, weak verbs form their past tense by adding D, ED or T. So I have given you all the three examples with three different endings so that you can understand it better. Next comes based on meaning. Any verb when written in a sentence, we should know exactly what message is it trying to convey. Whether it's an action word or it shows the condition or the state. As we discussed in the beginning, in the definition of the verb, you can see here, action is a doing or saying word, or it expresses an event or state of being. So all the actions, this both doing or saying word represents your action. Doing or saying word represents your action. So such type of verbs are dynamic verbs. An event or state of being tells you about the state, the condition. So based on meaning, we have dynamic verbs and stative verbs. So what are dynamic verbs? Verbs that describes an action performed by the subject. Means the subject actually is carrying out that action. Like he gave an interesting speech. Act of giving. It's an action. You give something to others, means you perform an action. The boy danced gracefully. Dancing is also an action. You move your steps, you move your body, so you are performing an action. Whereas in stative verbs, it shows the state, feelings, condition of being or possession. Such verbs neither have the beginning time or ending time. Like in dynamic verbs, we can see giving, act of giving. He gave an interesting speech. There he started to speak, and when he finished his speech, his action stopped. So this action had the beginning time also and ending time also. Same way with dance. So Dynamic verbs are performed by the subject, whereas stative verbs shows the feelings, state or condition of the subject. Like I have the book. Here, possessing any book is not included in any kind of action. It's a possession. I have the book. Maybe I'm not having it right now in my hand, but the book is in my possession. She is a girl. Here it shows the state of the girl, the existence, that this particular person exists as a girl. Next, the train is at rest. Here the verb is shows you the condition of the train, whether the train is moving or not. So it shows the condition that the train is at rest. It's not moving. Same way, I feel tired. Here it shows my feelings. How do I feel? Tired. Now when I feel tired, I don't feel like doing anything. So it expresses my feeling. Coming to the next division, this division is based on objects, whether the object is present or absent. Based on object, we have transitive verb, we have intransitive verb and verb of incomplete predication. What is a transitive verb? A verb which requires an object to complete its sense. Now what is an object? Object is a noun or pronoun that receives the action. So if the receiver of an action is present, we call those words as objects. Like in example, Ravi kicked the football. Here the verb kicked is received by the football. So here the football is an object. So kicked is a transitive verb. Coming to intransitive verb. Intransitive verb is a verb which do not require an object. It means no object is required to complete its sense. The verb itself completes its meaning. Like the baby slept. When I say sleep, I know what action is going on. So here the baby slept completes the meaning of the sentence, giving you or conveying the full meaning. Hence slept is an intransitive verb. Coming to verb of incomplete predication, these are those verbs where verbs do not complete the meaning of the sentence. Like we saw in intransitive verb completes the meaning of the sentence. In transitive verb also, verb may complete the meaning of the sentence, but it's better conveyed. The meaning of the verb is better conveyed if object is mentioned. But in case of verb of incomplete predication, the verb do not complete the meaning of the sentence. Hence, these verbs require some word or words, what we call it as complement, to complete its sense. So what is complement? Those words or word which completes the meaning of something. So since we are studying grammar, here we are talking about the meaning of sentences. For example, the sky grew dark. Suppose I remove dark, I omit dark. The sentence reads, the sky grew. Now grew what? The meaning is not clear. The sky grew. Meaning is incomplete. So I need something to complete the meaning of grew. So I have added dark. Now the sentence is, the sky grew dark. Now the verb grew conveys the complete meaning. Grew how? Dark. There is no light, there is darkness everywhere. So now the meaning of the sentence is complete. Next division is based on time, where we study about the different tenses like present tense, past tense and future tense. What is present tense? All actions taking place in current time, in the present time. Now these present tense have 4 different subtypes, that is simple present tense, present continuous tense, present perfect tense, present perfect continuous tense. So simple tense, continuous tense, perfect tense and perfect continuous tense is common for all the three tenses. Only what will change is the time period. So since we are doing with present tense, we are going to do all this topic in detail in particular chapters. Right now only general information about the present tense. So present tense are those tenses or those actions which take place in the present time. When I talk about simple present tense, example is she likes chocolate. It talks about any action that is occurring in the present time. Present continuous tense example is she is playing in the field. Continuous tense, present continuous tense deals with those actions which are in progress in the present time. Present perfect tense, they have completed their work. Here it tells you about the result of the work. The work is over, but the result is still there. So what is the result of their completion of work? Now they are free. Present perfect continuous tense, the child has been crying since morning. It talks about such actions which has begun in the past, is continuing in the present time and will continue in the future time. Next comes here past tense. It talks about those time which has already been completed or over in the past. So all those action that has taken place in the past time comes under past tense. Again, just like present tense, we have simple past tense, past continuous tense, past perfect tense and past perfect continuous tense. Example of simple past tense, she bought chocolate from the market, action is complete. Past continuous tense, she was playing in the field, action was in progress in past time. At a particular point of time, the action was in progress in past. Past perfect tense, they had completed their work. Here also, same thing. Past perfect continuous tense, the child had been crying since morning. The action started, continued for a particular period of time and is still going on. Future tense, all those actions that will take place in future time comes under future tense. The subtypes of future tense are simple future tense, she will buy chocolate from the market. Any action that will take place in future time. Future continuous tense, she will be playing in the field in the evening. Means in the evening at this point of time the action will be in progress. Right now whether the action is in progress or not we don't know. But at this particular point of time, that is in the evening, the action will be in progress. Future perfect tense, they will have completed their work by 4 p.m. So here also action will be over by 4 p.m. and the result will be observed after that. Future perfect continuous tense, the nation will have been building the road for 3 years. Means they started building the road 3 years back. Today also the work is in progress and still the work is not over and it is going to continue in the future time. So the nation will have been building the road for 3 years. The action is still not over. This is all about the tenses. Coming to the next division, that is based on the doer of an action. Here we study about voice. The detail of all these rules, regulation, we are going to study under the voice chapter. Right now the division is active voice and passive voice. When do we call the verb is in active voice? When the subject is a doer of an action. If the subject performs an action, then we say the form of verb is in active voice. For example, the cat killed the rat. Here the verb killed is an action performed by the cat. Who killed? The cat. The cat is a subject and who was killed? The rat. Rat is your object. Same way the peon rang the bell. Here the action of ringing is carried out by the peon. In this example also the peon is a subject. Coming to passive voice. In passive voice, subject is the receiver of an action. Here, the subject will receive an action. And if the subject receives an action, then we call it as the verb is in passive voice. For example, the same example will change to passive voice. The rat was killed by the cat. The first example was the cat killed the rat. In passive voice, the rat was killed by the cat. So who was killed? The rat. And rat is in subject position. Remember one thing, in passive voice all the verbs changes to verb third form. All the verb changes to verb third form, and the main verb, the tense of those sentences are expressed by be forms. Coming to the next example, the peon rang the bell will change to the bell was rung by the peon. So what was rung? The bell. So here again the bell is in subject position. So subject is receiving the action of ringing. So with this we come to an end with the finite verbs. In finite verbs we saw the verb was limited by number, person and tense. Now we are going to study about non-finite verbs, and these verbs are not at all affected by number, person or tense. That is, whether the subject is singular, plural, first person, second person or third person, or in present, past or future time. These verbs are not at all affected by these three conditions. So non-finite verbs are those verbs which are not limited by number, person or tense. Now what is the difference? If I say they are not limited by number, person or tense, what is the difference between finite verb and non-finite verb? The main difference is here these verbs do not act as verbs. They do not act as verbs, but they will either perform the function of a noun or an adjective, but not a verb. The meaning of the word will be as verb, means it's going to perform a particular action, but it's not going to describe any kind of action, but will act as a noun or an adjective. So based on how they are used or how do they behave, we have three types of non-finite verbs: gerund, participle and infinitive. So what is a gerund? Gerunds are those verbs which act as a noun. Just now I said they do not act as verb. They do not function as verb, but they function as noun. For example, swimming is good for health. We all know swimming is a verb. But in this sentence, swimming is not a verb. It's a name of a sport. Swimming is the name of a sport. And since it's a name, all the names come under noun. So since it's a name, this word swimming is now behaving as a noun. One reason is this: swimming is a name. Another reason, swimming is present in the subject place. I have a verb here, is. I have a verb here, is. This verb acts as a main verb, that is. So swimming is good for health. Here your non-finite verb swimming is acting as a noun and not as a verb. Coming to participle. Participles are those verbs which act as an adjective. Those verbs which acts as adjectives. Like she sat on a broken chair. So you can see I have two verbs. One is sat and other is broken. Sat is your main verb and broken is the past participle form of break. Now here this word is qualifying a noun. Chair is a noun. And what qualifies a noun is an adjective. So she sat on a chair. Sentence is complete. But what kind of chair she sat on? Broken chair. The chair was already broken and on that broken chair she sat down. So here the word broken, though is the past participle form of verb, it's not behaving as a verb but acting as an adjective. Same way I have infinitive. Infinitive verbs again either act as a noun or an adjective depending on the place where is it present. We identify the infinitive as a noun or an adjective. For example, she likes to play chess. She likes to play chess. Here likes is your finite verb because it will change according to the subject, that is number and person, and also with the time. But if I talk about to play do not change. So here she likes to play, acting as an object. She likes to play. She likes what? She likes to play. Play what? Chess. So she likes to play chess. Here to play is an infinitive acting as a noun. I hope this is clear. So with this we come to an end with the general introduction of verbs. The remaining type of verbs, all the verbs that we have studied, we are going to study in detail in each chapter or in each individual videos. Till then, goodbye.